Hey, how's it going, you guys? My name is Justin, and welcome to Please Be Happy. This is what I think is supposed to be a Yuri novel, and it's by Studio Elan. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. I believe it's French, and it's published by Sekai Project, so it should be okay. I like a lot of things that Sekai Project does, or at least that they support, so hopefully it'll be good. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. I really like the art style. That's kind of why I clicked on it in the first place and was like, ooh, maybe I want to play this.
Nothing like a hard day's work.
Yeah, I kind of clicked into the game already just to make sure it worked and everything was fine. Fog settled over the forest far from the villages and towns, and with it came silence. Birch trees shivered, pondering the weather, and dropped their leaves in fright. Streams bubbled unseen by man and babbled like the birds in the trees. In the middle of the forest was a grove, and in the middle of that grove was a log. It had been years since it had fallen, once one of the proudest trees around, and now in death was home to an abundance of life. A line of frantic ants ran to and fro. Mushrooms, cloud-like and pillowy, sprouted across one side, like a footpath for fairies. Nearby, an old toad flopped contentedly in the mud, and inside the deep, damp hollow of the tree something slept. A traveler strolled into the grove. Their steps were slow and tired, and they spotted the log with relief, like greeting an old friend. Weary from the day's journey, the traveler sat to take a rest. Whoosh! With the scrambling of nails on rotten wood, a shadow bolted from inside the log to the tall grass nearby. The traveler watched the brush rustle as a faint patch of fur appeared within. Hello there, friend. I didn't mean to disturb you. They held their hands toward the grass, offering a piece of dried fish. At first there was no reaction, and then, first a snout appeared, quivering as it tested the air, then followed the rest of the fox, sleek and tawny, as she took several steps forward. Her amber eyes were alight with mistrust, but also with wild curiosity. The strangers sat unfazed, their offerings still outstretched. They dared to meet the fox's eyes, and in that glance felt something kindred. As the fox closed her jaws around the gift, a bond was made. Maybe we aren't so different, you and I. The traveler returned the next day and the day after that. Each day, they brought some treat for their new friend. Each day, the fox's steps grew a little more trusting. One day, when the traveler arrived, the fox was sitting in the clearing waiting patiently.
Hello, my friend. Have you been waiting long?
The fox peered up at the traveler. Her amber eyes were warm and trusting. She accepted her gift of meat, gnawing at it at the traveler's feet, and there, the traveler sat, imprinting into their mind the feeling of the wood beneath them, the clean air around them, and the tender bond of companionship.
Where is your home, little fox? Is it here in this grove? Or do you come to see me too? This will be the last time, I'm afraid. Because I'll be going home tomorrow. Home is such a small place compared to the rest of the world. Yet, it's some place I can't wait to return to. I wish I could bring you with me, little friend. I wish that you could see the world too. Your home is all around me though, isn't it? It's wherever the trees are, wherever the leaves fall. Little fox, perhaps it's you who's the more fortunate of the two of us.
All too soon, it was time for the traveler to go. As they bade goodbye to the forest and to the fox, they knew that they would not return, but that they would always carry their memories with them, always. The next day, the fox was sitting in the clearing, waiting patiently.
We've now docked at Wellington Skyport.
Gosh, the intro to this game, I felt like I was reading a children's book back when I was in like kindergarten or first grade. It gave me like really like sentimental feelings.
Thank you for flying with Kiwi Airlines, and we hope to see you again.
I still think that's like the most ironic name, Kiwi Airlines. I don't know if I'll read all the dialogue. Hopefully, at some point, it'll just move on to them talking, so I don't have to. I run out of breath when I talk for too long. I wiggle around impatiently, sore from crouching in here for I don't even know how long it's been. Hours for sure. The last few minutes always feel like they take the longest. That is true. I've been traveling recently just because we had a death in the family, and gosh, the last few minutes of the plane flight are always the longest, and especially when you're just waiting there to get off the plane, it's the worst. A parade of footsteps begins to pass outside my door. It's time. I listen carefully, waiting for a gap in the crowd. When it comes, I stand up and push the door open in a single movement. I give a wink to the shocked-looking lady that I stepped out in front of. She doesn't even have time to gasp before I'm out of her sight. Well, she's probably wondering why you have those ears. Humans, they're always kind of slow. I nod at the smiling flight attendant as I pass her by and then throw up my hood to cover my face. It's been a while since I last flew, but it doesn't always seem like things have changed much. It's always been harder to sneak on than it is to sneak off. I follow the crowd to the end of the walkway and step onto the ground. After a long stretch, I take a deep breath and savor the fresh air after being stowed away for so long. Wellington Skyport, New Zealand.
I made it!
I can't say I've ever played a game that is featured in New Zealand, but I'm kind of excited about it. My breathless voice joins the pleasant hum of the skyport. A few clouds drift lazily overhead, almost within sky's reach. The sound of the waves rolling onto the shore is like a lullaby. It makes me want to burrow into the sand and take a nap. But I can't. First, I need to get out of here, and there's one more challenge ahead. Sorry, I'm trying to read. I don't know if you guys notice the symbols? I don't even know what language that is. Is that supposed to be Japanese? It looks quite different to me. I don't know, something's off about it. Up ahead, the snaking line of passengers splits as people are funneled into a few security stations. While I'm too far back to hear what the guards are saying, it looks like they're examining a little booklet from each traveler before letting them pass. Humans sure like processes and procedures. I definitely don't have a booklet like that. Glancing around, I hope to find another way out. An open window would work, or even an unguarded exit. I'm pretty sneaky when I need to be. Unfortunately, it looks like the only way to leave is through security. Without any other option, I join the lines to prepare myself. I'll have to do this the old-fashioned way. The lines move briskly as passengers are cleared one after another, and I'm almost at the front of the queue before I know it. As the passenger in front of me approaches the booth,
Good
I listen
afternoon.
closely.
Passport, please.
Right here. It's good to be home.
Okay, I will say one thing I like about this is that already the English is believable. It's actually an English person talking. I hate when, like, animes use obviously Japanese people to act like they're, you know, native English speakers. It just really peeves me because it's totally wrong.
I'm sure. Welcome back.
I'm already giving this game a thumbs up. He stamps something in the man's booklet and then hands it back to him, and he continues on to the skyport. I don't know what they would do to people without papers, but I don't want to find out. I'm sure it involves a lot of questions, being escorted around, and other unpleasant stuff. Casually approaching the gate, I put on my brightest, friendliest smile while keeping a slight distance. With my breathing steady and tail calm, I'm sure I'll put on a convincing act.
Passport, please.
Of course.
So you're gonna fake it. Instead, I grab the useless clunky phone I've been carrying around and let it clatter to the ground at the guard's feet. As expected, he bends down to
Let me
retrieve
get
it for
that
me.
for you.
You're just gonna make a run for it, okay. I mean, what else are you gonna do?
Hey, you wait.
Stop!
By the time they realize what's happened, I already have a few seconds head start. My inhuman speed combined with the natural chaos of the skyport should also buy me a bit of time. Still, I've got to get them off my tail. Heh, I get it, because you have a tail. You're funny. Oh, apparently we can click things. Interesting. I can go to the menu right there. Let's go ahead and click on that. Dashing through the skyport doors and out onto the road outside, I don't even have time to take in the city. Without stopping for breath, I run into the narrow streets while weaving between cars and shocked bystanders. Being seen by so many people like this is annoying, but it won't matter by tomorrow. Putting through the thought out of my mind, I vault over a low wall into a nearby alley and land in a crouch. Out of sight, but only for a moment, I close my eyes and relax my muscles. All feeling disappears except a slight warmth against my neck. My secret weapon. The unremarkable looking necklace is one of my only possessions, and by far the most important. The oddly heavy beads strung around my neck begin to heat up in response to my will, a soothing warmth flowing through my body. My hands and feet begin to morph, the fur chasing up my arms and legs as they distort and shorten. This sensation was so bizarre the first few times I tried. It's amazing how it's become second nature by now. What do you, like, turn into a cat? Closing my eyes, I let my body and head shift and turn. The face was always a little uncomfortable, my once human face shifting and lengthening into a snout with some difficulty. The process complete after barely a few seconds, I opened my eyes, not as a human, but as a fox. Oh, okay, so you're the fox from the beginning. Like, I didn't know what kind of animal she was. I'm like, she's got ears and a tail, but I darted away without a second thought, far quicker on 4 legs than I could ever be on 2. Obstacles like a stack of garbage cans ahead would be a pain to get past as a human, but instead I'm able to flit between the gaps without slowing down.
That's her. I know it.
Wait, how do you recognize the fox? Sounds like the security guard hasn't given up on me yet. I pick up the pace, running as fast as my paws will take me. I don't know, is this like a world that, like, that's normal? I was just assuming she's very abnormal. His heavy breathing gets farther and farther away, and in just a minute or two I know I'm safe. Whoa, look how many tails. There's 9 tails. I mean, I know, like, in Legends, there's often, like, a 9-tailed fox, but I don't know where I am, but it's not like I knew where I was when I started running. I almost feel bad for the guy who was chasing me. He never stood a chance. Even in the crowded city streets, there's no way anyone or anything that can outrun me. I think that's a little... that doesn't really flow that smoothly. I was like rereading it just to make sure like that's what it said. But they might need to fix that a little bit. The wind just wishes it could keep up with me. Comfortable that the danger's past, I slip onto another alley. Once I'm sure that I'm alone, I close my eyes and concentrate on the form I want to take once more. The familiar flowing warmth runs through me again, my body stretching and deforming at my command. A few seconds later, and I open my eyes to glance at my human hands.
Better luck next time.
Brushing the dust off my jacket and hands, I nonchalantly stroll out of the alleyway and back onto the street. The odd person walks by on this errand or another, not paying any attention to me, just the way I like it.
Right, past turn, left.
Yeah, I don't like when people pay attention to me in public too. I'm like, just leave me alone. Just let me do my thing. Mapping out my path in my head, I look for a way to the main roads. It'll be easier to get my bearings there. I pick turns at random without any real destination in mind. When I decided to make the journey to Wellington, it was pretty impulsive. I'd overheard another pair of travelers talking about it and how beautiful a city it is. With a moment now to take in the scenery, I can see that they weren't wrong. The streets around here seem like a mix of homes and businesses. Everything is very colorful, even the brick walls are covered in pictures and paint. In the distance, I can see green hills that are lined with houses, as well as green hills that are completely empty. There are a lot of hills, now that I look around some. I really appreciate that she's like kind of narrating what New Zealand looks like, because I've never been, and I don't want to say I never will, but I just don't know for what excuse I would go there. I mean, just to visit. From just a few streets away, the sound of pedestrians and busy intersections floats my way. I head in its direction, taking shortcuts through yards and driveways when it's convenient. In one lawn, a big dog growls at me as I walk past, but when I transform and growl right back, he tucks his tail and runs away. Yeah, I think if I just saw a human turn into a fox, I would probably run away too. After squeezing through one last narrow side street, I finally emerge onto what looks like a main road. There's no cars here, but tons of people on foot. There are brightly colored signs and decorations on most of the buildings. In the middle of the street, there are fountains and benches and trees and all kinds of stuff. The best part is the variety of stores. When I stroll past a few of the windows and peek in, I can already tell that I'll be able to do most of my shopping around here. There are stores with food and clothes, and with just about everything else. I don't have any money on me, but that isn't exactly a problem. What is a problem is that it's too crowded. Dodging a couple security guards is one thing, but trying to escape down a busy street with lots of people could be too much even for me. I'll just have to remember where this place is and make another visit later, after all the shops are closed. That sounds like a good idea. Then a man in a bright coat hurries past me, talking loudly on his phone in a language I don't recognize. He is distracted, so he doesn't even notice when his wallet falls out of his pocket onto the sidewalk. I notice, of course. Wow, what a convenient turn of events. Seeing an opportunity, I zip over and snatch it, prying open the black leather wallet and find score! A couple of bills and what I figure is the local currency. I slide the money out and into a pocket of my jacket. By now, the man is so far ahead that he's almost out of sight. I have to hurry to catch up to him to give him back his wallet, and he barely even says thank you.
I should have just kept the whole thing.
It's only fair that I get a little something for myself, since it's not like he would have gotten it back without me. Well, aren't you nice? Let's see, that's like a $5 and a $10 bill. I head back to the bench and expect my prize. A blue bill and a brown one. These feel sturdy, nothing like the paper I expected.
1, 0, 10, and 5. So 15.
Congratulations, you can do math. 15 isn't much. I should definitely have kept the whole wallet. Oh well, at least this should be enough to buy myself something to drink. My thirst is starting to get the better of me, as I haven't had anything since I snuck onto the airship. Following my nose, I walk down the busy street until I find one of the many cafes lining the path. The sign hanging above its front door has a picture of a bell on it. I noticed I play a lot of games that have cafes, or maybe that's just a common theme in these type of games. A charming little chime rings out from above the door as I enter. I can't help but savor the wave of refreshing cool air washing over me, which is all the better after so much running.
Hiya! Welcome to the Bell House.
Oh, you have interesting ears too, huh? The barista behind the counter is the only person in the store right now as I nod in greeting and she leans forward with a cup in one hand and a pen in the other.
What can I get you? We're having a special on affogatos if you want to try one.
Affogatos? I don't even know what that is.
Usually, they're like $7, but today, they're only 5.
Wow, only 5. Okay, I do happen to have a $5 bill. And you know what's nice about other countries is oftentimes they will put in the tax in the price. Unlike America, where you have to calculate the tax afterwards. So if you had a $5 bill, that wouldn't be enough to cover that. I'm not sure what affogato is. Is it that vegetable? Not wanting to commit to this strange sounding drink, I look at the menu instead. Unfortunately, it's full of handwritten spindly letters. I can't read a single word and there's no helpful pictures. Safe option it is.
I'll just have a vanilla latte. Ugh, boring. But okay. Name?
Wow, okay. She really wanted us to have one of those affogatos.
Mio.
Mio. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just totally reading this in my head, so I apologize. Foxes don't have any use for names, so nobody ever gave me one. She scribbles something on the cup with a black marker. If that's how this name looks, then I'm even more pleased with it.
$4.50, please.
$4.50, there we go. So we saved 50 cents. I handed her the brown bill and she gives me back a big coin with a picture of a boat on it.
Alright.
Dope.
I'll have this ready for you in no time.
Sounds good. Apparently they have a 50-cent coin. She seems enthusiastic. I nod as she spins around and starts working, looking about somewhere to sit. I decide on a seat by the window with the sun pouring in. Near the entrance of the cafe, there's a wire rack with a stack of maps and tourist pamphlets, so I grab one of the maps before taking my seat. The cafe is big and bright with plants everywhere. They're on the walls, on the floor, and on the ceiling. Most of them are real and vibrant, obviously being well cared for. Even the lights that hang down from the ceiling have glass ornaments with little shrubs in them. Yeah, this is a very unique design. I like it. I've never seen anything like it. Seems like I made a good choice coming here. Any place with a bit of nature that is more in it is more comfortable to me than places without.
I guess I should find a place to stay.
I don't know how you're gonna do that. Looking down to the map I took, I traced the path from the port to this cafe. It's useful, but it doesn't really tell me anything about the houses in particular. I'll need to find a higher vantage point. I move my finger around the hills I notice from outside, following the little brown path to a patch of green with a little mountain icon. That should work for now. My ears perk up right as the barista arrives and places my drink in front of me.
Thanks.
I reach over to take the warm cup in my hand, but the barista doesn't let
You
go.
ready for the rain tomorrow? Huh? It's gonna rain tomorrow.
I glance behind me out the window. It's as sunny and a blue a day as I've ever seen.
How do you know that? There aren't any clouds out there. I'm just good with the weather. Anyway, if you forget, then you'll be sorry.
Is this just how friendly people are from New Zealand? Like, if you are from New Zealand and you're watching this, like, can you let me know? Is this what people are like there? Like, they just, like, start up a casual conversation like this? I mean, not to say that people here in, like, America don't do that sometimes, but she seems especially friendly. She finally lets go of my drink and heads back behind the counter. People are weird. Does the barista pull that on everyone? Standing on the doorstep, I have my first sip.
This is really good.
It's pretty plain but well made. The coffee isn't too bitter, which is perfect for me. With a moment to myself, my thoughts turn inward as I sip the warm drink. My first travels were in search of someone, but despite my whole life being spent trying, I haven't made any progress in finding them, so I've taken to simply wandering, going wherever I wish at the time. Well, they're probably going to be much older now, too. That's something to consider. I'd been itching for a change of scenery anyway, so I snuck into the first airship I could. The best part about owning nothing but the clothes on my back is I can pick up and leave wherever I feel like. I mean, I guess if you were a fox, you really could just do whatever you want. I take a moment to get my bearings and look around. I see a tired-looking person shuffling along the far footpath. I think it's supposed to be foot, and there's an extra H in there. But you know, this is why it's a demo. Hopefully that'll get fixed. With a briefcase in their hands, they stop outside one of the buildings, take a deep breath, and pat their face a couple times, and then go inside. They must not be looking forward to whatever's going to happen in there. Maybe they have to fight someone. Through the large glass windows of another store, a fawn is trying on a pair of shoes, but they don't seem to fit her hooves. The people waiting with her look annoyed. I wonder if she fusses around with her footwear a lot. For a while, I simply let the day roll by and watch the various figures who stroll by. People watching is fun, especially in such a busy city. Eventually, I go to sip my coffee, only to find nothing coming out. With no more reason to stick around, it's time to go. On the sunlit street, I look about to match what I can see with the map's directions. There's a tall green mountain in the distance ahead of me, which must be the one on the map. It'll be the perfect vantage point of the city. Ideally, I'll find an empty building I can crash in, but it's not necessary. A roof over my head would be nice, but I'm plenty used to sleeping outside under the stars. Sometimes it's better than sleeping in a bed. Encouraged by the plan forming in my head, I set off the long walk to the summit. Alright, looks like we are heading this way. So we were just like right here. I think that was the port where we came in, or at least where we went. Now playing Sketchbook. The path to the mountains turns out to be less simple than the map made it look. First, the trail takes me along the waterfront, and then it turns upward through a small forested area. Being among the trees and their tall shadows makes me feel at home. Whenever the path leaves the woods again, I'm a little disappointed. It leads up to a paved road, so I stick to the edge to avoid passing cars. Sometimes I take shortcuts through yards or up unmarked paths. There are quite a few nice-looking homes right along the roadside. I make a mental note to go check them out when I'm low on money or food. What are you gonna do, rob them? Not much further along, a concrete lookout offers another glimpse of the city below. A couple airships are coming into dock of the skyport, probably from one of the other floating islands. There's still a ways to go to the top of the mountain, but luckily the walk has been easy so far. I wouldn't even consider it a hike. Eventually, I reach the final stretch of road. I can see where it curves ahead to the summit, and I hurry to the end. A metal railing spreads out like a crown on top of the mountain. As I go to toss my empty cup away, a pair of chatting tourists passes me
How
by.
far is it from here?
Oh, about an hour from the base of Mount Victoria, so a bit further from here.
Mount Victoria.
I do the same thing too. Sometimes I'll talk to myself out loud just because it helps me to like focus and remember things better. Standing at the edge, I'm treated to a wonderful view of Wellington. The city forms a crescent moon shape around the bay, which glitters like a sapphire from up here. The sun is starting to set, and that makes the water even more shimmery. Even more airships can be seen coming and going. I think that I can even see the edge of the floating island we're on, miles out in the open sky. I surveyed the city using the skyport as a reference point. I'm trying to figure out, does skyport, does that mean airport? I just want to make sure I know what I'm talking about. From up here, what felt like such a long chase really doesn't look far at all. If I strain my eyes, I think I can even see the coffee shop from earlier. What was it the barista said it was called? The Bell House? Kind of tough to make out details. My hearing and sense of smell may be great, but my eyes aren't that much better than a human's. Then I noticed something useful.
Look! Is that our house?
Probably. What can you see from here?
I can see my house from here.
I see Dad's car!
Not too far away, there's a little kid who's using a pair of metal tubes attached to a post. His mom is helping him aim it at the city. It must be something that improves your vision. The moment the kid and his mom leave, I hurry over before someone else can get to them first. When I press my eyes to the same spot as the child did, though, all I can see is black. I try moving it around, but it doesn't change. Is this thing busted? Something is printed on the side. I have no idea what it says. There's a small slot, though, with a picture of a coin next to it. Hey, we can use that 50 cents from earlier. The machine eats my coin, and then when I put my eyes into it again...
Yes!
Ooh, look. I can finally see everything. Everything looks much closer now. Even the trees on the side of the hill appear in crystal clear detail, like I'm standing right next to them. I aim the viewing glass of the city and look around, trying to find a good place to rest for the night. Houses are a no-go. Even if they look empty or abandoned, you can never let your guard down for a minute. Same with most shops. I don't have enough money for a hotel, and I won't risk sneaking into one of those either. As I'm studying the sights, trying to memorize as much as I can, there's a clicking sound, and once again the view goes black. Stupid machine. I smack it a couple times and check again, but I still can't see anything.
Well, whatever.
It's not like an old TV. You can't just hit it and make it work. While the image is fresh in my mind, I sit down at a nearby bench and pull out a pencil and some crumpled paper from my pocket. I always carry a few with me. I sort through them until I find one that's still blank. Using my knee as a table, I stretch out the view before me, the trees, the curve of the bay, and the buildings far below. You never know what information will be useful later. I add more detail to my drawings of the bigger, more important buildings. Others are just represented with simple rough squares. The view is pretty, that's for sure. It didn't really help much though. Once I'm confident I've jotted everything down I need to, I carefully fold the paper and put it back in my pocket.
Looks like I'm sleeping outside tonight. Guess this place is as good as any.
I mean, it seems like a nice place, and there's tourists, so you could potentially, like, I don't know, steal something if you really want to go that route. I head back down the trail a little bit and veer off into the underbush. Well, this is still my only place to go.
Not perfect, but it'll do.
Usually when I make a den, I prefer to find a place far from other people, a place where nobody will find me. I doubt I'll find anything perfect, but this is good enough.
It's fine. Can't afford to be picky.
That's true. Bakers can't be choosers. Once the trail I was on is out of sight, I transform again. My neck gets warm as the beads activate, and a few seconds later I'm on all fours. As a fox, the sensations of nature are much stronger. The earth beneath my paws is cool and refreshing, and the breeze whips through my fur like a massage. I hurry down a hill covered in grass so tall that it reaches way over my head. I smell fresh water and follow the scent to a small stream where I'm able to parch my thirst, if I could say that right. It's just as satisfying as the drink I got at that cafe, but in a different way. And being able to slurp up water is way more enjoyable than having to use a straw, or worse, one of those lids with the tiny holes. Hey, just be thankful you don't have to use a paper straw. For a little while, I follow my nose to some berries and some edible plants. That'll do for a snack. Unfortunately, unlike the water, foraging is never as satisfying as eating human food. If I want a real meal tonight, then I should pick up the pace before it gets too late. Still, I want to get this done now while there's still daylight. I keep close to the stream and search for a place where the ground is soft. Before too long, I find a promising area, a small valley with hills on most sides and thick foliage on the other. I'm still close enough to civilization to hear cars and other city noise, but the area I'm in doesn't seem like it gets visited very often. At the very least, it really doesn't smell like people. The spot I settle on is a nice mound of earth near the edge of the woods, partially hidden by a tall tree with low hanging leaves. Even if no one comes by, it'll make me feel better knowing that I'll be out of sight. And so, I start to dig. My claws rip away the dirt as I burrow downwards, widening the tunnel just enough for my sleek frame to fit. First I dig downward, and then first I dig forward, and then downwards, widening out an area that's big enough for my whole body to fit. This is something I've been doing my whole life, even back when I was just a regular fox. I think that's why I don't mind it too much compared to sleeping inside somewhere. It feels just right to me. So I'm really curious, you say back when you were a normal fox, how did you get a hold of these beads? Because I'm assuming those are what transform her. I'm curious if they're going to go into that. It takes a little while, and by the time I'm finally finished, the first few stars have started to peek out from the sky. I shake myself clean of the dirt that sticks to my coat and then transform back to my human form.
Spread this here, a couple of branches here, some leaves there.
I walk around the valley a bit, checking from different angles.
Not bad for just an afternoon's work. Ugh, I'm so hungry. I haven't had a real meal since yesterday.
Hey, just feel lucky you can have any kind of meals at all. You're supposed to be a fox. I'll grab some human food back in town. Casting one last glance on my afternoon's work, I set off towards the city.
Work never ends. Time to get some food!
I'm a bit disappointed when I finally get back to the busy street from before. I was hoping that it would be emptier now and that all the stores would be closed. Turns out, I was half right. A lot of the shops have gone dark for the evening, but there are just as many people walking around now as there was earlier. In fact, there might even be more. The patio of a restaurant has a bunch of tables full. A mermaid is sitting in the fountain I sat by earlier, chatting with a cyclops. Even the cafe that I visited is crowded now, with a line almost out the door. Well, this really must be some kind of like fantasy type world if there's cyclopses or mermaids just casually strolling about. After pacing up and down the road for a while, I sit down and try to figure out what to do next. I'm not too worried about what would happen if I got caught stealing. I would just escape, obviously. Even if they somehow managed to catch me, it wouldn't be an issue for very long. See, there's something different about me that makes me extra good at being a thief. It's not just the skills I practiced over the years, like picking locks and sneaking around. She's literally playing IRL Skyrim. Oh, I thought she was narrating it for a second. No, it's a bit more special than that. Without fail, every single person I forgets about me by the next day. I don't know why. I don't really care either. It's magic. That's all I know about it. Really useful magic. Oh, there's sounds in the background. I was like really confused. I'm like, is she narrating it? I just don't hear it? Everywhere I go, no matter how careless I am, all my problems are solved by the next day. That sounds really convenient. That doesn't mean there's no danger. I've been caught in the act before and beaten or harassed before I can manage to get away. I've even lost a few prizes I stole fair and square because I had to get going in a hurry. But if someone sees me but isn't able to stop me, I know that I'll be home free. Sure, they might remember having something stolen, but they'll never know who did it. It almost makes things too easy. Right now, it would be smarter to just come back even later in the dead of the night and hope that there are no people around. I'd be able to take my time browsing without having to worry about making a quick escape. Where's the fun in that, though? I walk casually up and down the street, glancing in the windows without being too obvious about it. Some stores still have customers inside, others have locked their doors and shut off the lights. Most of the restaurants are still open and only making me hungrier. Stealing from restaurants is a bit much even for me, though. I've tried it before, but the cluttered kitchens as well as the tables and chairs make it harder to get around. Plus, I've learned the hard way that there are plenty of hot or sharp things for angry cooks to throw at you as you try to make your way out. Instead, packaged and pre-made foods are my best friends. Things that I can grab multiples of at once and stuff into my pockets. If I'm really lucky, I'll find a place with refrigerated sandwiches or salads. And sometimes perfectly good hot food that gets thrown out. You wouldn't believe the kind of stuff that's available if you don't mind shifting through the trash a little bit. It's not perfect, of course, but a hot meal is a hot meal. I know plenty of foxes who would have eaten much worse.
Target spotted.
Dang, this is just a visual novel about a thief.
Locked, huh? Not surprising.
I head down a nearby alley and find the back door, which is probably where they bring in new products. The alleyway is dark to begin with, and my dark clothes help me hide even better. I glance around the alley, glad, like always, for my excellent night vision. Nobody's watching, nobody's even around. I pull my hood over my ears and tuck my tail between my legs, leaning against the sturdy door. To anyone not looking closely, I'm sure I appear as nothing more than a shadow. I dig around in my pockets until I find my trusty lockpick, and then set to work on the door. It isn't a complicated lock at all, just a regular keyhole. With a click, the latch opens just a few moments later.
Huh?
I try to open the door towards me, but there's a chain on the inside that keeps me from opening it very wide. There's no way a human can fit through this gap, but it would be easy for a fox. First, I slink away for a bit, idling on the nearby street like a regular pedestrian. I wait to see if anyone shows up, just in case I triggered a silent security system. After about 10 minutes, I decide it's safe. I transform under cover of darkness in the alley and slip it into the building before transforming back. The shop isn't very big, and the receiving area is just a small hallway with a few boxes of soda and candy bars on the floor. I grab a couple of my favorites and shove them into my pockets. While I creep into the main area, I make sure to stay low to the ground, trying to avoid being seen from the outside. I'm not exactly hidden, but as long as I don't stand up, I shouldn't attract anyone's attention. I move fast, cramming into my coat as much as I can. Cookies, protein bars, popcorn, I'm not very picky. When my coat starts to feel pretty heavy, I grab a plastic bag from the counter and transfer some of my loot into there. I also take a few bottles of water and sports drinks from the coolers. Just as I'm about to leave, I spot a few of those coveted plastic wrap sandwiches I was thinking about earlier.
Jackpot!
I fill my bag with sandwiches until it's almost overflowing, and then I head back out the way I came. In total, I was in and out in about 5 minutes, and I've got enough supplies to last me a few days. When I step into the alley, I glance around in both directions, making sure no one saw me emerge from the store. I don't see anyone, but my neck prickles as if someone is watching me. I sniff the air but don't notice anything out of the ordinary, nothing that wasn't there before. Still, suddenly, there's a flap of wings and a bat flutters past me from out of the shadows. It goes right over my head and disappears from sight of the street.
That's it?
Maybe that bat is a human too. It's a vampire. I let out the breath I've been holding and start making my way towards the mountain where I made my den. I let the bag swing from my arm as I walk, whistling a song I heard earlier. I'm not able to keep a smile off my face.
Not a bad first day. I've got a nice nest, food to spare, and plenty of places to explore tomorrow.
There were plenty of days in my life where I had none of those things. I unwrap one of the sandwiches I grabbed and take a big bite.
Nothing beats the taste of hard work.
Yeah, you thief.
So tired. I'm gonna sleep so well tonight.
I unpack everything that I got from the store, as well as the treasures I always carry with me. My lockpick, my wallet, and a few pretty stones. The only thing that I leave in my jacket is a small scroll.
Can't get that damaged or dirty.
I change back into a fox and then dig another hole near the entrance to my den. This one is much simpler and shallower, and I bury some of the snacks I stole before covering them back up with dirt.
Not like anyone's gonna come by and swipe my things, but better safe than sorry.
Does New Zealand naturally have foxes?
I stole this myself, after all. Don't want it being stolen from me.
Well, it's already stolen, so what does it matter if it gets stolen again? Stuff like my pen and my favorite rock go into the barrel with me, since I like having them close by. Once I've gotten everything where it belongs, I climb into the hole myself, turning a few circles before settling down with my tail wrapped around me. From here, I have a perfect view of the stars. I look up at the clear night sky through the mouth of the tunnel. I feel bad for all the people way down in the underworld.
Can they even see the stars from there?
I have never been to the underworld, so I have no idea. I can't imagine falling asleep without them. Comfortable and safe, I close my eyes and quickly slip off into dreamland. I wake up to trouble, or at least a threat. I'm sure it's only morning as I peer out of the burrow's entrance, but the sky is already dark and foreboding. My attention moves from the ominous rain clouds above the trees to outside my den to their branches shaking in the strong
I can't
breeze.
believe that girl from the cafe was right.
She probably used something called a weather report. I climb out of the tunnel and out into the open, sniffing the air. It just tells me what I already know. A storm is coming in fast, but also another scent plays on my nose, one so faint that I almost brush it off before taking another smell. Surely I'm wrong. There's no way. Lowering my snout to the ground, I investigate the area and decide that I'm right. I change into my human form and look around.
Someone's been here.
Who else could it be? Someone that's not human.
And it definitely wasn't here when I went to sleep.
They must have come here in the night and stopped right outside my den.
Are they watching me sleep? Oh crap!
So they didn't steal from us. They were just investigating. They're probably like, why is there a foxhole here? But that still doesn't answer the question of what they did want. And that's even more concerning. I'm a pretty light sleeper, and usually the slightest sound or motion will wake me up. So if someone was able to sneak up on me, even I have to be impressed. Could be that owl, or not the owl, the bat. Impressed and a little bit worried. I've got a more pressing issue right now, though. And I stare up at the sky in disappointment.
I hate the rain.
I would have found a different place to make my nest and hide my supplies if I had known this would happen. Said both burrows will probably just be piles of mud by the end of the day.
I should have found a place with a roof after all.
I fill my pockets with most of my important possessions and some of the food I grabbed last night. Everything else I wrap as tightly in the plastic bags as I can and bury them in my den. Hopefully I can find somewhere fast and then move everything else before it gets ruined. An abandoned house would be perfect, or some other place where I'd be able to hide. After finishing packing up, I'm just about to get going when a loud flapping sound overhead catches my attention. I expect it to be a bird, but instead it's yet another bat. I'm telling you, it's a person. This one is even bigger than the one I saw last night. Its wings are way longer and noisier. I can hear it squeaking. It's squeaking something as it flies past. Some people say bats and foxes are similar. I don't see it. I've literally never heard of that before. Have you? I watch it fly around for a little while before it takes off toward the city.
Maybe it knows somewhere to stay. Guess I'll follow it for now.
Eventually, we're out of the woods and back into civilization, where a car whizzes past me. There's a sidewalk here, and other people walking around. Most of them look up to the sky nervously, though, and everyone seems to be in a hurry.
Guess I'm not the only one looking to get away from the rain.
I don't mind the rain too much. As long as it's not like pouring. I actually like a light drizzle. It's kind of nice. More people seem to be going in the direction I was headed than anywhere else, so I stick to that. By now, my winged guide is almost out of sight again, just a little black speck in the sky flying into the distance. Farther up this road, there's a slope that leads to a big fancy-looking building. It doesn't look like a shop or a restaurant, at least not one that I've ever seen, but there are so many people going in and out that it has to be open to the public. That's good enough for me. It'll give me somewhere dry to spend some time, and maybe I can learn something useful. Plus, places like this usually have plenty of valuables inside. If I'm lucky, I might be able to find something to fund my next few days. After all, the bigger the target, the less likely they are to notice something's missing. The sturdy oak door isn't as heavy as it looks, a firm push being enough to heave it open. Gingerly stepping inside and out of the rain, I'm greeted by books. Lots of books. Books on shelves, books on tables, books on the floor, books everywhere. This place even smells of musty old paper, and the dozen or so people inside are mostly leafing through pages in the aisles. The odd silence about the building is striking, given how many are around. It doesn't look like a shop, so I assume this must be a library. I've heard of them, but I've never been in one. No point, since I can't read and all. But it's warm and cozy, and very dry, so it'll do just fine. There's a desk near the entrance of a computer on it that I would assume would be where I check in. It's unattended, which is good for me. I take a seat in an empty chair nearby and sit back just to observe for a bit. There are plenty of people, but it's not too busy. Lots of empty, unwatched spaces. Most folks seem to be here alone or in small groups that keep to themselves. There's not much conversation going on, and what there is, all whispered. Nobody gives me a second glance, which is a good sign. It means I'm probably not breaking any rules just by being here. Behind the desk, there's a hallway leading deeper into the building. I peek around the corner to see what's back there. All I can see are some shut doors and at the very back a staircase. Okay, that's the girl from the title screen. We just saw her in that picture behind her ear. After glancing around to make sure no one's watching me, I sneak down the hall and try a couple of doors. All of them are locked. I could probably pick them, but if I wanted to. No sense trying to do that now, though. Is there anything any more valuable around? An antique clock or a vase would be perfect. Sadly, it's almost all books. Books and small trinkets that look pretty worthless. Not even worth the trouble of stealing. At least it's got a roof. I do spot a couple promising items like a set of old coins and memorize their locations. I wander back to the main area where I came in. Outside, it hasn't started raining yet. It's only a matter of time. The wind is loud and gusty, and even opening the door is enough to make me shiver. If nothing else, I can probably wait out the rain here. But, my poor abandoned snacks back at the den. What a waste. Can't do anything about it now, though. I should keep looking around. I move slowly through the area, never going beyond what seems to be the public area. I pretend to inspect a few books, taking them off the shelves and flipping through the pages, but I'm actually mapping out the place in my head. Doors, windows, and potential places to hide, things like that. Most of the time, this kind of info is unnecessary. It's been at least a few decades since I've had to make a dramatic escape from anywhere. At this point, plotting an escape route is just a habit. Overall, I like what I'm seeing. Even with the doors locked and off-limit hallways, there are a lot of nooks and crannies that would make good hiding spots, especially as a fox. And from the thick dust that coats a lot of these areas, I can tell that it doesn't get a whole lot of visitors. If I'm careful, I might be able to go a whole week or more without being noticed. As long as I can get in and out of the building easily, that is. And with the huge windows that line the back wall, this seems easy enough to do. I weave around a couple shelves that are taller than I am, heading for the back corner. I peer around the corner of the last aisle just to make sure I'm alone. But I'm not. Oh, I remember seeing her too. At a small table by the window sits a woman with a small book in her hand, resting against her fingers. She's perfectly still, but mouths the words of the pages as she reads, like she's tasting them instead of just seeing them. Her expression has a distant look of someone way off in their own world, far away from this one. She looks at peace, but I think she must belong in the other world. She's beautiful and elegant, in the same way as a painting, with the light from the window shining on her like a display. I duck behind the bookshelf, pressing one hand to my racing heart, my other bumps against the books of the shelf, and it falls with a dusty thump. Well, looks like you blew your cover. Cursing my clumsiness, I silently back away in case she decides to investigate, but she doesn't leave her chair.
I suppose it's nothing.
I suppose it's nothing. I like her accent. I can't copy it. Don't even ask. I don't even know what kind of accent I have. I have like, I guess what you would call an American accent? I don't know. Uh-oh. Suddenly there's a much louder boom than the one I caused, as thunder rumbles outside. A few people around the library startle at the sound and look around. Sighing, the girl in the chair pulls the window beside her closed, the first drops of rain falling not a minute later. I'll investigate the windows later. Right now, I don't want to bother her, so I head back to one of the plush chairs on the other side of the library and take a seat. I could be here for a while, depending on how long the rain lasts, so I may as well get comfy. I find a few books that have more pictures than words and curl up in one of the soft chairs to flip through them. There aren't as many of those ones, and I go through the stack pretty fast. It takes long enough for the rain to start, though. The longer I read, the louder the pounding of the rain and the howling of the wind become. Guess it's not letting up anytime soon. I can't complain, though. This library is pretty cozy by my usual standards. It's warm and safe, and nobody tells me to go away. I even have snacks. More than once I get up and walk around the library again, even though I've got most of it memorized by now. I take note of things like a child's stuffed toy that's lying on the floor in one section, or the thin blanket that's stuffed between a bookshelf and the wall. On my third or fourth trip around, I finally found something I've been looking for. In one of the corners, totally opposite from where I saw the reading girl earlier, there's a single chair and a small table. On the wall nearby is a portrait. The painting of it itself is of a girl with light brown hair, but I barely pay attention to that. What I'm interested in is the frame. It's lovely. It looks like it may be made out of gold. It certainly shines like it. It's carved intricately into the shape of waves flowing up and down. It's got to be worth something. I pretend not to pay too much attention to it as I make my way back to the table. There are too many people around for me to be able to try to sneak it out. It's too big to fit under my jacket without being obvious. Yeah, that thing is huge. This just means I'll have to come back some other time, but maybe once this place is closed. The hours pass by and the storm continues. I'm kind of disappointed about losing a whole day, especially so soon after arriving, but it's not like I'm in any sort of hurry. I pat one of my pockets, feeling the familiar and reassuring weight of the paper scroll that's tucked away in there. The scroll is the only thing close to a purpose that I have, and it's not particularly urgent, or at least I don't have any way to deal with it faster. Is that something to do with the person that used to visit you? I'm trying to figure that part out. I spend a long time reading. It's almost afternoon when I go and check the windows again, but the rough weather outside continues. At this rate, I will be sleeping in a puddle of mud tonight, unless... A quick check shows that a lot of the other library patrons have left. It's not empty, but it's not nearly as full as earlier. Guess some of them decided it was worth braving the rain. Looking as nonchalant as I can, I get up from my seat and pretend to browse again, slowly moving through the shelves. The reading girl is gone now, although she's not what I was looking for. Instead, I pick up the dropped toy and blanket that I spotted earlier, and then I head to one of the out-of-the-way hiding spots I picked out before. It's on the floor in between a shelf and wall, but it has a bit of carpet to help make it softer. Even better, it's between two corner shelves, meaning that it's practically out of sight if you're not looking for it. I wriggle my way between the furniture and lie down, using the toy as a pillow and draping the blanket over me. I toss and turn a few times before finally settling down.
Not bad at all.
I mean, you do have a pretty nice setup, I guess. Same, I'm always down to take a nap. It's a problem for future me. That's such a terrible way to think. Just put everything to another person. It's like, oh yeah, the me of tomorrow can handle it.
Maybe today won't be a total waste after all.
I mean, you found a place to hang out. It's not a den. The soft sound of cloth rustling wakes me from a dreamless sleep. How did someone sneak up on me twice now? I don't know how long it's been. The sky outside has darkened significantly, and now stars twinkle outside the window. There's no time to react as the sound comes closer. I hear no footsteps, but suddenly a woman steps into view. Her clothes are pure white, making her stand out like a ghost in a dark library. Her cape rustles again as she reaches towards one of the shelves. One of the shelves I'm hiding behind, to be precise. Gingerly, she moves two books to the side and slides another book into the space she created. She handles them like precious treasures that she might break if she's too rough. I stay perfectly still, afraid to even breathe in case she notices me. Uh-oh, I think she's looking at us. My heart beats wildly as she slowly and deliberately looks over the shelf, examining their titles before taking a book from the second lowest row. Through the gap she creates in the shelves, our eyes meet in the darkness. I tense up as she steps around the shelves between us to get a better look at me. Preparing myself to leap away if need rises, the carefully memorized layout of the library flashes through my mind as I frantically plot the best way to flee. Even as I prepare my escape, I can see her taking in everything about me. The stolen blanket, the makeshift pillow, my generally disheveled appearance. She opens her mouth and I brace myself with a verbal attack that's sure to come.
There. May I ask why you're sleeping on the floor?
It's comfortable. I think she'll buy it.
I don't have anywhere else to sleep.
I thought so.
She leans down and offers me a hand. I look at it warily. I don't take it, but I slowly stand, letting the blanket fall on my feet and subtly get into position to run.
I have an extra room on the second floor that you're welcome to borrow, if you'd prefer that. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to remain here, on the ground. I apologize for waking you.
You know, a bed sounds nice.
Thanks, but no thanks. I'll just actually. Sorry to bother you like this.
I hurry past her, shoulders tense as I expect her to grab me or try to stop me. She doesn't, though. The one time I glance back, she's watching me with a strange expression that I don't recognize. When I get outside and away from the library, I breathe a sigh of relief.
That was close. I'm not falling for that one again.
Trying to empty my wallet. I don't know how that works, but okay.
Still, it's a shame to lose such a nice hiding place. Maybe I'll give it a couple days for that woman to forget about me, and then try again. If she wasn't lying about there being an empty room on the second floor, then maybe I could sneak into there.
The rain has stopped, although it's still cold and cloudy. My stomach grumbles since I haven't eaten anything other than snacks all day. Bleh. I may as well get it over with and go check on the status of my den.
Well, it could be worse.
And that doesn't look terrible.
What's a little mine? It'll be just fine.
I swapped my fox form to prod around. The entrance is caved in a little bit, but after I scoop that out, I find that the rest of the tunnels in the main room are relatively intact. Cold as hell, but intact. Seems the trees protected the den from a lot of the rain. It takes me a while to find the spot where I buried my stash since the stick I used to mark the spot got washed away. Eventually, I locate it though, and start digging. The cold mud makes my paws dirty and sore, and little flecks cover my fur. After I finally reach the soggy plastic bags, I shake myself clean before opening them as a human. Some water has seeped through, and I open the spoiled items before tossing them away. I'm not too picky. I have plenty of other snacks to choose from.
Eat up, birdies!
Oh, well, at least she's feeding the birds. That's nice of her. A few of them swoop down to inspect the offering. I scarf down a quick meal of cookies and unwarmed soup, along with some cold water from the stream. At least the water is satisfying. Then, even though I just woke up from my nap not so long ago, I shift back into my fox form to crawl into my den and curl up. I'm sure it'll be a while before I fall asleep, but I don't feel like going back into town. I've had enough excitement for one day. This isn't all that bad. Regular foxes without magic powers have it way worse than I do. Although, back when a fox was all I was, I wouldn't have really cared. To this day, I'm not sure what it is that makes me different. I used to be just like them. No desire to go beyond the forest or anything. And then one day, I became whatever I am now. All I had was my necklace, a small scroll that I can't read, and the memory of the person who had given it to me. They were so kind to me, that stranger in the forest. They wished me well, and even though I was just an ordinary fox, somehow that didn't seem to matter to them. I never even knew their name, just their face and their voice, but I know that I'll recognize them when I see them again. It's just a matter of finding them. So since then, I've been looking and surviving. Looking for them is what keeps me going. It's enough to live for. Even if I wasn't, I don't know what else I'd be doing. I guess I'd just be surviving if that was the only thing. I think I'd rather have just stayed a fox. Standing outside my den in human form, I take a stock of how things stand. The sun's thankfully out this morning, but everything remains damp from the ground to the muggy air itself. The chill and the breeze is the worst, making me shiver every time it hits me. The Bell House was pleasant when I visited a couple of days ago, so I decide to head down toward the main street and get a coffee there while working on my next moves. Coming to the door of the cafe, I pause and wipe my feet on the mat outside. The human fascination with surrounding themselves in concrete makes a little more sense as I work the mud off my feet. With that, I finally head inside, only to stop in my tracks as the door shuts behind me. Oh, hey. It's a friendly face. Standing behind the counter is the same girl who I saw reading in the library yesterday, talking with a customer as she takes their order. The general aura about her is unmistakable. The person in front of me finishes their order as I step up to the counter.
Good morning. Welcome to the Bell House.
Well, thank you.
What can I make for you today?
Are we just gonna have a vanilla latte?
Oh, hi. I'll have... what do you recommend? I want to try something new.
Oh, exciting.
I'm
We're gonna try
glad
something.
you asked. I was just thinking that you look like the sort of person who would enjoy one of our Fairy Kiss chillers.
Berry Kiss Chillers.
It's one of our signature drinks, with a vanilla gelato base and a mint chocolate chip swirl.
That sounds very interesting. I would try that. Not a huge fan of like mint chocolate chips, but I don't know. I would give it a try.
Okay, give me one of those then.
Perfect. And could I get your name, please?
It's Miho.
I'll have that right out for you.
Thanks.
I pay and then go to take the same seat as before next to one of the windows. It's pretty empty in here again, so I can sit wherever I want. Before the barista starts making my drink, I spot her writing something else down in the little notebook. She glances my way once or twice while she does, but I pretend not to notice. I wonder what it is. The barista yesterday didn't write anything down. Anyway, I've got more important things in my mind. I mull over the plan which formed as I walked here, becoming increasingly happy with it. Tonight I've already decided I'm going to sneak back into that library. Between the picture frame and some other of the trinkets I saw, I should be able to pilfer enough to fund my next few days in Wellington. Finding somewhere to sell it should be the easy part. I've got a dozen excuses I can recite about where the items came from. Dead grandma, spring cleaning, new renovations. Sometimes I try extra hard and pretend the things I'm selling are really special to me, just to earn a bit more cash that way. Sometimes I just take whatever they give me. After years of watching other humans do it, I've been trying it out myself. I've gotten good at pawning items off. I find myself idly watching the barista make my drink. While I do, I practice a disarming smile. All of her movements are quick and practiced, but she already has the same faraway look in her eyes I noticed yesterday. She looks up and our eyes meet. I don't look away, and she turns pink before ducking behind a machine out of sight.
Huh. Weird girl.
I turn my head around to look around the cafe, and a butterfly outside catches my attention, so I watch that instead. It flutters back and forth, landing on a flower and resting its wings. Oh, my coffee's ready. I quickly get up and skip over to the counter. Cup in hand, she starts to head over to give it to me. But then, several things happen at once. One of the little tassels on her pocket of her apron catches on one of the drawers behind the counter, and she jerks to a stop, eyes wide with surprise. And my drink tumbles out of her hand, landing on the counter with a wet gloop sound as the ice cream splats against it, sending mint green rivers of coffee everywhere. A few seconds pass, where we just look at each other, neither of us quite sure what to do, and then she takes a deep breath.
So sorry. I'll make you a replacement right away. Just give me 1 second and I'll have that ready for you.
Her words spill out faster than the beverage, making it harder to even understand what she's saying. Her face is bright red as she spins back around and grabs another empty cup. Then she stops, hands hovering awkwardly.
I should clean this up before it dries and starts to go bad.
I mean, that's generally what you should do. Clean it up first, and then you can work on the next one. I'm sure we have time.
I'm really sorry. This is such an embarrassment.
Oh, it's fine. I'm not in a hurry.
Instead, I sit back down at one of the tables and watch. She makes the drink twice as fast and then carries it very slowly to the counter, setting it down in a clean spot. This time, she takes a deep breath before speaking, like she's afraid she's going to mess that up too.
All right, here's your drink. Again, I'm very sorry. This is your first time here, isn't it? I hope it doesn't leave a bad impression.
Second, actually. Yesterday was the first time. How'd you know?
I make an effort to remember as many of our customers as I can, as well as their favorite orders. I believe you can learn a lot about a person from how they drink their coffee.
Well, I would hate to tell her that I don't actually drink coffee. And if I ever went to a coffee shop, it's usually because I want one of two things. I either want like hot chocolate or a drink like that. There's some kind of like lemonade thing at Starbucks I like to get too. I think it's like a passion fruit or something. Or the other thing I like to get from Starbucks is their muffins. Their muffins are delicious. If you've ever had like their pumpkin and cream cheese ones, those are really good. I recommend them. Well, that's too bad for her because she won't remember me at all next time. I take a big sip of the drink she made for me. It's creamy and rich and sweet all the time.
Whoa, this is really good. It's kind of like a milkshake, but not. But it's not like coffee either.
Gosh, my immediate thought of like a mint milkshake was the Shamrock Shake from McDonald's. I remember I liked those as a kid, and then as I've gotten older, I'm like, ugh,
yes,
gross.
Exactly. I'm very glad that you like it. It's one of my favorite beverages that we serve. In fact, the recipe was my idea.
Oh, okay.
Whoa! They should put you in charge of all the recipes.
Thank you. I'll make you another one of my favorites next time, if you'd like.
Totally.
At least I'll know what to order next time, even though I'll have been forgotten. I'm already thinking of this place as my go-to coffee shop, especially since it's in a convenient area. With tasty drinks and cute baristas, I don't have a reason to go anywhere else.
Hey, Aspen, can you start another batch of croissants?
Croissants?
Oh, sure. I'll be right there. Have a nice day, Miho.
You too.
I think that the studio that designed this is French, but it's interesting because we're in New Zealand. I wonder if whoever made this is French but moved to New Zealand at some point. I'm just trying to figure out the inspiration here. Okay, so we got Aspen. Welcome to the world of Please Be Happy. On the map, you select locations to visit and spend time in. Just take note, though, most locations will pass time. How you experience the story will be up to you. Events that will pass the time will be marked with a clock. Some events will only show up at certain times and on certain routes. For today, you can see all the events, but in the future, you'll have to pick and choose how you spend your time here. Interesting. So it looks like we have like 5 different places. So we'll go to Cuba Street first. They say the perp always returns to the scene of the crime, so I head back to the main streets. By the look of it, the store I swiped from is the same as always. The person sweeping the front of the store doesn't even seem a little bit stressed. I never steal enough for it to be noticeable, but it's always a point of pride when the place looks the same as always the next day. A smug smile creeps on my face as I pass by, snacking on the chocolate bar I took from the shelves. Okay, so it looks like I want to go to the library if I wanted to kill time. Or if I want to do side stories, I can go to these places. Let's go to Oriental Bay. It's not far from the Bell House to the beach, so I decide to head down there. Passing through the streets, I recognize some of this area from my first day here when I was running from Skyport Guard.
Glad that guard chased me in this direction, or I'd have never found the Bell House.
And really, that's been the highlight of Wellington so far. When I get down to the beach, I take a moment to enjoy this salty sea air. From this point, it is impossible to tell where the ocean ends and where the open sky begins. I can see the skyport from where I am, with a few older ships anchored in the harbor close by. While I'm admiring the view, a worried-looking lady comes up and waves in my direction.
Hi, I'm looking for my son. He's about this tall and wearing a red sweater. His name's Tommy. Have you seen him?
Nope. I haven't seen anyone like that. I just got here.
Okay, thanks.
She walks away in a hurry, looking right and left as she goes to ask someone else.
Humans sure do have it rough.
Since they can't smell or even hear most things, it's a wonder they don't get lost more often. I amble along the waterfront, watching all the people as I go. Like Cuba Street, there's a lot going on. Under a nearby bridge, a group of 3 mermaids are racing each other. Close to the bridge are a bunch of people fishing, with a stressed-looking guy running back and forth between them. Next to a boarded-up market stall and some big crates, I notice something weird. There's a fabled with a big flower on their head that spins like a propeller. They're using it to drift in a small circle above something near the crates. I have to check it out, of course. Nobody else pays attention. I wander over and take a look. The fabled stops spinning as I approach and gives me a helpless look but doesn't say anything. On the other side of the crates, out of the sight from the path, there's a little boy sitting on the ground with his back to one of the wooden boxes.
Tommy?
The kid jumps up, totally surprised. Oops! He scrambles up and looks at me wide-eyed.
Your mom's looking for you. She seemed pretty worried.
His expression goes from surprise to sullen real quick.
I don't care. I don't want to go with her.
Why not? Why are you over here instead?
'Cause I'm hiding.
He's hiding.
Oh. Okay.
It's a pretty crummy hiding spot. I mean, it's totally open on 3 sides. I don't say that, though. Instead, I look up at the fable floating overhead. It almost looks as glum as Tommy.
Who's that?
That's Jerby! You mean you can see him?
Wait, can only certain people see
can.
these?
Is that weird?
Mom and Dad can't see him. They think I'm just making him up. He doesn't talk, but he's real.
I wonder then if, like, only certain people can see her. Oops, I'm sorry, I just hit the microphone. I'm wondering if only certain people can see her ears and tail then.
He kinda gave away your hiding spot. I saw him from the road.
Mom can't see him, and that's all that matters.
Why are you hiding from her?
Cuz.
Cuz.
Well, good luck.
Hey, wait a minute.
The look of surprise on her face.
Are you gonna go tell her where I am?
Tommy, there you are.
Uh-oh, we gave out his hiding spot. We're snitches.
Are you okay? What were you doing? Don't you ever run off like that again. Oh, I'm just glad you're safe, though.
Her voice goes up and down between relieved and angry. She has Tommy in a tight hug, and he's just staring forward grumpily. Jerby is flying in distress circles again. Finally, the lady turns towards me. You found him, right? Thank you so much. I was so worried.
No problem.
Oh, I guess I don't have to narrate that. They're kind of talking for themselves. I didn't really do anything. I did find him, but so did she. Guess she's not thinking about it much.
Come on, Tommy, let's go home. We'll talk about this there.
No, I'm not going. That's not home.
These voice actors sound oddly familiar.
Tommy, sweetie.
Home is where it's you, me, and Dad. Not that apartment.
Gosh, it's like right on... My brain's thinking of it.
That's still your home, too. But this, it's like your second home now.
No, it isn't! Not without you, it's not! Do you and Dad really have to get...
I can't think of what I know his voice from. Or it sounds very familiar or something.
I don't want you to go!
Seems kind of awkward. Neither of the humans notice me leave, but Jerby the Fabled sadly waves goodbye as I head off. I wonder what makes him stick around. I've never seen a Fabled like him before. Not being able to be seen by certain people sounds very useful, though. I don't have to go far before the sounds of Tommy and his mom talking are drowned out by the noise of the waterfront. I easily fit into the crowd of people milling about. Being able to live a life that no one notices is close enough to being invisible. I'm pretty lucky that I don't have to have those kinds of tearful conversations or panic about someone missing. No being a part of the crowd is just fine for me. I stand at the concrete and admire the ocean until I've had my fill and then I start wandering again. Can I not go to the den? I'm just gonna go to the place that say side story. How about that? I have plenty of time to kill and also plenty of restless energy. I decide to go up for a walk up Mount Victoria just to give myself something to do. I take the long way up this time instead of taking a bunch of shortcuts like usual. It winds up through neighborhoods and then back out again with only the occasional car passing by on the street. Compared to some of the other cities I've been in lately, though, the air here is a lot cleaner and the smell of nature shines through. It can't compare to being out in the wild for real, of course, but it's nice not to be choking on exhaust fumes everywhere I go. The houses are weird though. Many of them sit up on tall legs like giant bugs with windows for eyes. Most people seem to be coming down the mountain and going up. Lots of them zip past on bikes or skateboards while others are jogging or just walking.
This path is longer than I thought.
About halfway up or so, there's a wooden bench just off the sidewalk. It's occupied by a man with dark hair and big sunglasses.
Well, hello, miss. Nice evening for a walk, eh?
Oh no, human interaction.
It sure is. I'm glad the rain's gone.
Oh, for now, yeah. It's never gone for long, though, is it?
That's so. I'm new here. I didn't even think it would rain since it was so sunny the day before.
Ho ho ho! You've gotta watch out for that around here. Mother Nature's real fickle these days. 1 minute you're on the pier, enjoying the sunshine. Next minute, whoosh!
Dang, this guy just sounds like a dad from like one of those cartoons you would have watched on Cartoon Network.
Storm clouds, as far as the eye can see. That's just welly for you, though. You live with the sunshine and the clouds. Where are you from, then? Guessing you're not a Kiwi?
Nah, I'm a fox, not a bird.
Not like that. Although those little guys are cute. A Kiwi is a word for us New Zealanders in general.
So it's a bird, a fruit, and people.
Yes.
You got it. All three are delightful. Anyway, welcome to Wellington. I hope you're enjoying your time here in our little city.
So far I am. I made my den here on the mountain. I've gotten coffee a few times, and I went to the library.
That's gotta sound weird.
Well, I can't say that's the usual tourist experience, but I'm happy to hear that it's working out for you. Staying long?
Probably. I decided to come live here, but I'm still getting to know the place. So, maybe I'll change my mind.
A true free spirit. I felt the same way when I first got here, long time ago. Didn't think I'd settle down for life, but here I am now. Lived more years here than everywhere else in my life.
It can't be that long. You don't look very old for a human.
No? Well, that's my ego boost for today. You don't look very old for a fox either, but I imagine you've got a good head start on me.
That's true. I don't really keep track or think about it, though.
Can't say I blame you there. I think 100 years, give or take a little on either side, is enough for me. And I'm only halfway there, so I've got plenty more to look forward to. And sometimes I'm reminded of how many I've got under my belt already.
Gosh, I'm almost 25, so like I'm half of what he is, and sometimes I feel like, wow, I have a lot of experience in life. I mean, not really, but I feel like I've gone through a lot.
Thank you for the chat.
Makes me feel old.
I better get back to the water now and make sure young Min hasn't fallen into the ocean or anything. It's been a real pleasure talking with you, though. I hope you'll give our fair town a shot.
So I don't know if he's talking about his wife or his daughter, Young Min. Sounds kind of Korean. He looks
Thanks.
kind of
It was nice
Asian-ish,
talking to you, too.
so... Doesn't know how old she is, huh? Places, relationships, memories. They just tie people down. I want to be everywhere. There's actually a surprising amount of detail in the city down below. Like, they put in a lot of effort to draw that. Looks really good. A free spirit, that's what the man called me, and I like the sound of it. I can see the smudges of a few people down by the beach and on the pier. Is one of them the man I just met? There's no way to know. From up here, they're just tiny blips, impossible to tell apart from each other. Once I've had my fill of the view, it's time to get on my way again. I turn my back on the people and start making my way down once more. It says I can go to the den. Without much else to do to pass the time, I head back to my den. It's not the best place to hang around, honestly, but it's comfortable enough. Looking around the small area, I shift back in my usual form. If I have some time to kill, I might as well have some fun while I'm at it. A couple hours later, and I've happily had my fill of chasing butterflies and snacking on mushrooms. Okay, time to get back to it. Alright, I just want to see what going to the den would be like. I really like this system of, like, looking around the map. It kind of reminds me of World End Syndrome, if you ever played that. It's on the Switch and PS4. has a map kind of similar to that, where you kind of decide what you're going to do, and it passes the time, and there's certain events that only happen at certain times during the day. This was the perfect kind of night for me. There's not much wind, meaning I'll be able to hear or smell anyone approaching. It's a little cloudy too, which gives me some cover from the moonlight. I make my way back up to the library, stopping as soon as it's within sight. I find a shadowy place to hide and watch the front for a few minutes. Like I hoped, nobody goes in or out. All the windows are dark too. I slowly creep up towards the entrance, ready to transform and flee if I have to. Nothing happens, no one tries to stop me. I peek into one of the windows, it's dark inside and I can't see anyone at all. Perfect. I move around to the back side of the building and check those windows too. Same thing, it's dark and empty.
This is gonna be too easy.
Not if we encounter that girl again. I sneak from room to room, revisiting the items I memorized yesterday. They're not expensive or fancy enough to think of them as treasures. I end up leaving a lot of them alone since I don't want to carry too much with me. The rest go into my coat pockets. Finally, I ended up back at the painting in the corner, the piece that started this whole plan. I have to set a couple things down on the floor because the painting needs both hands to lift. It's heavier than it looks, though it's not very big. It's probably a good sign for how much it'll be worth. I have to jiggle it a couple times to get off the hook, but I manage. Tucking the painting under one arm, I pick up the goods from the floor. This should be enough for one night. Best to get in and out quick. I start to head back to the front door where I came in, but before I get there, light floods the room. My heart starts to race as I immediately prepare to run. A quick glance over my shoulder shows the woman from last night standing at the top of the stairs. Her eyes are glowing blue with anger. She takes a step forward, not seeming to touch the stairs.
Leave that painting alone.
Well, yeah, I would be pretty pissed off if someone's trying to steal my painting.
Stop, please.
Wonder if that's like a painting of like someone important to her, you know? Using my shoulder, I crash out the front door and into the night. I run as quickly as I can, keeping an eye out for the patches of slick mud or puddles of water. The path I take goes far past Mount Victoria and my den, ending up in a small residential area. I stash the painting under a parked car and then take my fox form and crawl under a house, upsetting a mean gray cat who was already hiding there. It makes a low growling sound and I glare at it, desperately willing it to be silent before it gives away my position. I growl back at it best as I can, and that seems to scare it into shutting up. I'm not sure if I was being followed or not, but I don't want to take any chances. After 10 minutes or so, I climb out, pick up my loot, and sneak back towards my den. Now that the excitement has worn off, I just can't keep a smile off my face. There's nothing more satisfying than pulling off a heist, even one as easy as this. Other thieves I've heard about must have it rough, having to stake out a place for a long time, trying really hard not to get caught, and making sure not to be seen. I've never done much planning, I just do whatever feels right. My ability to transform makes it pretty hard to catch me, although I have had to leave behind the stuff I was taking once or twice. And honestly, it would get boring if I never got caught and had to run. My good mood lasts me all the way home and then disappears completely when I see who's waiting for me. The woman in white. She stands just outside my den, looking like she doesn't care at all about the cold or the mud. In fact, her perfect clothes don't seem to get dirty at all. With her back turned to me, she's staring up at the moon, but she faces me as I approach. She has that same calm presence as when I first saw her, and I can see the mournful look in her eyes, which have gone back to brown instead of furious blue. My heart quickens, almost suffocatingly, as she watches me intently. I know how quickly calm can turn into anger. I should run, but I can't look away.
How did you find me here? Before I even got back?
A friend of mine told me you might be found here.
A friend.
I apologize for showing up uninvited. I'm here to ask that you please return that painting to me. You may keep the frame if you like, but the painting itself is very dear to me. And also, should you wanted, I have an extra room available in my library, with a soft bed and a warm meal. You may stay as long as you wish.
Huh?
After I just tried to rob her, she's offering me a place to stay? Okay, now I know this must be a trap. There's no way.
Why?
Because I have more beds than I could possibly fill and more food than I could eat. If there is someone who wants or needs them, is it not appropriate to share these with them?
Is it? I guess it's not like my place is as nice as yours. Fine, I'll take it.
Wonderful. I'm glad to hear it. I should introduce myself properly. My name is Juliet.
Juliet.
Miho.
I wonder if her friend that she was talking about was Aspen.
Well, Miho, it's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. Let's return to the library. I can carry the painting if you'd like, or you may hold on to it until we get there.
Here, feel free.
It's on the second floor.
The room is simple and cozy with a couple dressers, a table, and a bed. Over the bed, there's a boxy window with a wide sill, big enough to sit on. On the table, there's a cheese sandwich and a few apple slices, plus some sort of cake. There's also a pitcher of
I
water.
hope the food is to your liking. 2 rooms down the hall from here, you'll find a refrigerator, and you may help yourself to anything in there.
It's a nice place.
My study is just past that. If you need anything, don't hesitate to come find me. Is there anything more I can bring for you?
Yeah, we steal from her, and then she's still offering us a bed and food.
Then I'll leave you to it. We can speak again in the morning. Good night, Miho.
The door shuts behind her, and I expect her to hear Juliet lock it, but when I try the knob after giving a few moments, the door opens quietly into the dark hall. Juliet's nowhere to be seen. I pull the door back shut behind me and inspect the room, looking for any hidden threats. I also check the food, sniffing it to make sure there's no poison or anything. If there is, I can't smell it, and so I dig in instead.
Whoa. This is really good.
There's 3 different kinds of cheese in the sandwich, which is 2 more kinds than I knew existed. The bread is soft and buttery, and when I take a bite of the apple, juice rolls down my chin. The water that I wash it down with tastes better than the water from the stream by my den. When I'm done eating, I climb into my bed, still feeling overwhelmed. More specifically, not knowing how to feel. Part of me fears I made some sort of gigantic mistake and that I'll wake up in danger. If I ever wake up at all, trusting my instincts has kept me alive on multiple occasions over hundreds of years, enough that I've lost count of exactly how many. But something tells me I don't have to fear from anything to fear from the woman who I can only assume is the host and owner of this place. I wonder if she takes care of the library. So with that in mind, I pull the blankets up to my chin and adjust the luxurious pillows behind my head. Who knows, maybe the morning will bring trouble with it, but right now, just sleeping sounds alright. I wake up to the sounds of birds chirping loudly outside. Blinking warily, I prop myself up and look towards the warm sunlight beaming through the window. The sheets under my hand feel soft and dry. My hand goes to my neck, taking in the smooth familiarity of my necklace.
It's still here.
If someone was going to rob me, then that's the only thing I would have that seemed valuable. I sit up and look around. It doesn't look like anyone came in here while I was asleep. Maybe I really am safe here. I wonder if Juliet's friend was the scent I noticed outside my den on the first morning. I don't know how else she could have found me or how they did it without waking me up. If it had happened before, it could happen again, as much as I hate to admit it, so I check around the room very thoroughly, but still don't notice anything different from when I went to bed.
Maybe it's not a trick.
All of my past experiences have told me that there has to be a catch. Nothing is free. Nothing. There are some free things in life, absolutely. But no matter how hard I try, I can't figure out what it could be. Could Julia really have been telling the truth? It just seems so unlikely. It'd be nice if it was true, but if it wasn't, I let myself believe only to be wrong in the end. Then that would hurt even more, wouldn't it? No, better to not even take the risk. After all, I lived a lot of years this way, and it's not like I hate it. Making my mind up helps me feel better right away, too. It just makes more sense. Even if I tried to stay, I don't think I'd ever stop worrying. This way I'll know for sure that I'm in charge of my own destiny. Now that I know the room is unoccupied, I might be able to sneak back in sometimes when I need a place to stay. It wouldn't be too hard to climb one of the trees and get back into the window from here. I take one last look around for a night. It was a nice what if. Then I head downstairs and out the door without speaking a word to anyone. It's another nice day, the same as when I arrived in Wellington. Warm sun and blue skies, with just a hint of clouds. For a while, I meander around town, eating the last of my pastries from the convenience store hall for my breakfast. Today feels like another restart. I have no den, no supplies, no anything. It's less exciting now than when I first arrived. I don't have a destination in mind, but eventually end up at the waterfront. There's an airship over the bay descending closer toward the skyport. A couple kids down on the beach wave up at it, seeming excited. The people arriving at the ship all have somewhere that they're planning to go when they get off. Huh. They've all got people waiting to see them. What have I got? Some trash and an old scroll? So far, Wellington's giving me nothing but questions. That never bothered me before, in any of the other cities I've been to. So why now? Guess that's another question for the pile. I push myself off the railing and head back into town. I go through the motions of scouting for somewhere to rebuild my den, but my heart really isn't in it. After wandering for a while, I end up at the Bell House yet again. It's just a place I go when I have nowhere else to go. There are more customers than usual, so there are 2 people working behind the counter. It only takes a brief glance to know that one of them is Aspen. Aspen. I wonder if she thinks I'd like a fairy kiss chiller again, or maybe I'll make a different sort of impression today. The line moves pretty quickly. It helps that Aspen doesn't spill anything this time. When it's my turn to order, I step up to the counter with a fake smile.
What can I make for you today?
I'll have a fairy kiss chiller, please.
Certainly. Good choice. Oh, don't worry about that. It's on the house today.
On the house?
Wait! What does that mean?
It means that you don't have to pay for it. As an apology for yesterday.
Yesterday? Why does that sound so strange? I nearly missed her talking, my mind having tripled over the word. She reaches for a cup, with the pen already in her hand.
For Miho, right?
She remembers.
For Miho?
It is Miho, right?
That would be pretty strange.
Miho!
Maybe I should just leave this whole city, get on the next airship out of here, and act like it never happened. I could go somewhere else, back to China, or America, or anywhere, and start over again. Within days, it'd be like I never came to Wellington. My life would go back to normal, and eventually I'm sure Aspen and Juliet would forget me, just like they're supposed to. Nothing would be different. Except that's not quite true. I wouldn't forget what happened here, even if everyone else did. No matter what, I'm sure I won't ever be able to get past these few days out of my mind. When I go to Mount Victoria, I finally stop running. Not because this place is special or anything, or because I wanted to come here, but because I don't know where else I'd go. I make my way up to the top of the mountain, just like I did my first day. The view, which I admired so much last time, doesn't do much for me now. Instead, the city looks cluttered and confused from up here. My chest hurts from running so long. I'm much more used to quick bursts of sprinting to get away from something or someone. I guess that's still what I'm trying to do right now. But I'm not too sure what it is that I'm running from. Whenever something goes wrong, my first instinct is to flee. Aspen remembering me definitely counts as something wrong, but when I stop to think about why, some of the reasons are obvious. Mostly, what if it's not just Aspen? What if everyone can remember me now? Or even worse, what if people who forgot about me a long time ago start to remember me? Both could get me into a lot of trouble. My days as a thief would probably be over. There are some places where I could never show my face again. The smart thing to do is leave. I can even see a couple of airships at the skyport right now. I have everything with me. I could just go. There's nothing keeping me here. And yet, I don't move. I don't even know what it is I'd be running away from. From Aspen? From Wellington? When I think about it, I have to admit that running wouldn't get me anywhere. This worry, these questions, would it follow me wherever I go? No matter how far, no matter how long? So then what do I do? The only answer I can think of is the scariest one. The one that goes against everything I've ever learned. Closing my eyes, I picture the library and Juliet's offer. I picture Aspen, whom I barely know and has already changed my life. Maybe I should stay and try to find out more. Maybe, just maybe, being remembered might not be bad at all. I clench my fist so tightly my knuckles turn white. The urge to turn tail and head for the skyport is so strong it's almost like a magnet pulling me from there. I resisted though. Slowly, I walk back down the mountain, making my way to the library. I'm not sure what to say when I get there. Explain everything to Juliet and hope she'll let me stay in the room again? I don't even need the room. I could rebuild my den and hide out there. Maybe in a new spot, one that Juliet doesn't know about. Not having to worry about the weather or other animals would be nice, though. There's no telling if Juliet will remember me, too. If not, it might be easier to pretend this is my first time visiting and just ask if there's anywhere I could stay. Even though I'm not moving very fast, I still don't feel ready for this conversation by the time I reach the library's entrance. It's only been an hour or so since I left the Bell House, so it's not late enough for the library to be closed. The usual stream of people flows in and out of the doors.
I can do this.
I stand off to the side of the entrance, preparing myself as people pass to and fro. My heart is racing the same way it did during intense break-in, maybe even harder. My tail twitches back and forth. I usually don't notice, but right now I'm super aware of everything about myself. Fighting off my instincts, I open the door and let myself inside. I'd been expecting to have to look for Juliet, but instead she's right by the entrance. What surprises me most, however, is the woman leaning against the large desk beside her, Aspen, who's now engaged in conversation with a deep look of concern on her face.
He wasn't there when I checked the bedroom. I wish she would have spoken to me first, at least.
Juliet? What are you...
Miho!
Hey there.
It's nice to see you again, Miho. I was hoping that you'd return.
Dang, Aspen's
Me
tall.
too. That was pretty sudden. I worked extra hard on that drink for you, you know. Miho?
All right, the drink. I'm so...
Well, I ended up drinking it myself, so I suppose I can't complain too much.
You seem different.
I'm sorry?
Like, less polite?
Well, I'm not at work anymore, am I?
Will you be staying for a while, Miho? If so, we can continue this conversation in the dining room. It's a bit more private there.
Yeah, sure. That sounds great. I'm not gonna run away again.
I'm glad to hear that. Right this way, then. Can I get you anything to eat or drink, Miho?
Juliet smiles in response to my answer, which came just a little too quick to sound natural. By the way both she and Aspen are looking at me, I can tell they're expecting me to say something first. None of the words that I planned are coming back to me. What do people even say in a situation like this? The temptation to run away is overwhelming, the door just a few feet behind me. My knuckles whiten as I tightly clench my fist in my lap, pushing myself to resist the urge. I told myself I'm going to take this chance, even if it's the hardest thing I've ever done. I'm going to be honest with them.
Well...
Juliet waits patiently, her eyes gazing coolly in my direction, more than directly at mine. Aspen soon grows restless, however, her expression clouded with concern.
Sorry. I don't know how to just say things. I've only ever copied other people's, so I...
It's okay, Miho. Take your time.
So I... don't really know how to talk.
You're doing just fine.
If you say so. It's not just talking either. I don't know much about anything. Well, anything human. All I really know about is being a fox. And all we foxes care about is how to survive. It might be hard to believe, but I'm not a normal fox either. There's something kinda special about me. Kinda different. Usually, I have to steal to get by. I don't just have to, I like to. I'm good at it too. And the reason I'm so good at it is because I don't know why it happens, but ever since I got my human form, everyone forgets me. Even the people who catch me stealing from them. After a day or two, I can walk right past their face and they wouldn't even recognize me. No one has ever recognized me. Until Aspen remembered who I was at the Bell House. It was such a shock that I ran away. That's what I always do. I was thinking about leaving Wellington forever. Even though I just arrived a couple days ago, I'm still kind of tempted. But instead, I came back here, and that's it.
Just hearing the words coming out of my mouth makes me want to die of embarrassment. It makes me uncomfortable when other people think about me, and yet putting everything out there feels surprisingly good. It feels like a weight has come off my shoulders. There's no going back now, and that's a relief on its own.
So you're saying that you've never ever had a family? Or a friend?
Nope, never. And not since I stopped being a regular fox, at least.
Oh. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Why?
Well, because that's... not to be rude, but that sounds rather lonely to me.
Lonely, huh? I've never thought about it before.
I see.
Aspen sits back, still looking concerned from the way she keeps fidgeting. I get the impression she wants to say more but is holding back. Juliet swoops in to salvage the situation.
You have been very brave to stay here, Miho. I'm personally glad that you decided to come back to the library. I had your room prepared in hopes that you would. You're welcome to use it for as long as you'd like. I think that we could become great friends.
Friends.
Right now, it feels like I'm standing on the end of one path and the beginning of another. I could turn around and go back the way I came, back to the den and a life spent alone. I know that world. I've lived in it for so many years. But I just can't go back. Not now. Not when there is something more, something new. Everything could be different if I just let it. When I look at Aspen and Juliet, I could tell they're hoping, I'll say. What they're hoping, I'll say.
Well then, Miho. Welcome home.
That's sweet. I feel like this in itself was a game. I know this is just a demo, but I'm like, wow, there's so much content in here. I don't know about you guys. I really liked what I just saw. I thought this was great. I mean, it was almost pretty close to 2 hours. I mean, it's like an hour and 45 minutes. But there was a lot of content in here. I'm wondering how big the actual game's going to be. I mean, there's obviously a lot more that could go with that. But I really liked that. That was nice. I mean, I knew it looked kind of like pretty professional going into it. And obviously there was a few like spelling mistakes or like grammar issues, I guess. But overall, it was pretty professional. I really liked it. And I think this is going to be pretty good. So I'll probably end up playing it once it comes out fully. I think this is really good. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it and would want to watch more. But anyways, guys, I appreciate you watching, and let me just make sure there's no other content. Okay. So, anyways, guys, thank you, and I'll see you next time.